Your entire worldview has been shattered. And that worldview is your mental model. It's the rules that govern us, that prevent chaos. Trust this person. Don't go there. These are the rules, how life works. And in one earth-shattering moment, everything you've learned to be real and true is no longer. The bottom has truly bottomed down on you, and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. It's terrifying.
Dr. Debi, thank you so much for joining me. And what I love, love, love about your work is how you've really been able to identify that, wait a second, there's a post-betrayal syndrome. And many people have this. They're going to their doctors in order to deal with their physical health symptoms, not realizing, what is the root cause of it? And when we talk about betrayal, you've laid out clearly that this is a different type of crisis in our life. This is a different type of stress. It's not just a stress and we deal with it as any other stresses in our life. This is very specific and actually causes a specific syndrome, a pattern of symptoms. So break that down. How did you even discover these symptoms, and what are these symptoms?
Yeah, in the study that I did on betrayal, what holds us back, what helps us heal, and what happens to us physically, mentally, and emotionally when the people closest to us lie, cheat, and deceive, that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries. And the first thing you said about how betrayal is a different type of trauma, and it is. And the reason is, when you think about it, like originally I was studying betrayal and post-traumatic growth. Right. And with post-traumatic growth, there's sort of this upside of trauma, if you will, like how that trauma, death of a loved one, disease, natural disaster, whatever, leaves you with a new awareness, perspective, insight you didn't have. But I had been through disease and I'd been through death of a loved one. And I was like, nope, betrayal feels very different. And here's why. With betrayal, it feels so intentional. So we take it so personally. So the self get shattered. Rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. When you lose someone you love, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss, life will never be the same. But you don't necessarily question the entire relationship. You don't question, your ability to trust. You don't question your sanity. Betrayal has you questioning everything. So yes, it's a very different type of trauma, but that type of trauma also, that was the second discovery, leaves in its wake this collection of physical, mental, and emotional symptoms so common to betrayal, it's now known as post-betrayal syndrome. And these are symptoms, like you said, that you could have for years, decades, if not a lifetime, if you're not aware that it's because of, at this point, we've had, 95,000 plus people take our post-betrayal syndrome quiz to see to what extent they're struggling. Men, women, just about every country, every age is represented. Out of them, 78% constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. 80% are hypervigilant. And just even what being hypervigilant can do to your body. 94% deal with painful triggers. And those triggers can take you right down. The most common physical symptoms. 71% have low energy. 68% have sleep issues. 63% have extreme fatigue. Your adrenals have tanked. 47% have weight changes. So in the beginning, maybe they can't hold food down. Later on, they're emotionally eating. They're using food for comfort. 45% have a digestive issue. And that could be anything. Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, you name it. The most common mental symptoms. 78% are overwhelmed. 70% are walking around in a state of disbelief. 68% can't focus. 64% are in shock. 62% can't concentrate. So imagine you can't concentrate. You're like dragging yourself out of bed. You have a gut issue. You still have to work. You still have to show up every day. You still have to raise your kids, right? That's not even the emotional issues. Emotionally, 88% experience extreme sadness. 83% are very angry. Now, what the body goes through when you bounce back and forth just between those two emotions all day long. 82% feel hurt. 80% have anxiety. 79% are stressed. Just a few more. This one killed me. 84% have an inability to trust. 67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. 82% find it hard to move forward, and 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how.
These are the signs of trauma. These are the exact words of the trauma response, not just the stress response. And so confirming, validating, like the betrayal is a trauma that the body experiences.
Definitely.
And like you said, it's the meaning that we attach to the situation of what that betrayal means for us and whether we experience it as a betrayal. But that betrayal is not just a stress that we can get over. Like the betrayal is one of the deepest trauma responses that the body goes into. And then obviously, based on your studies, can get stuck there.
Once we're in this place, 4 things happen. The first one is we get all those small self benefits. We get to be right. We get our story. We love our story. We get someone to blame. We get a target for our anger. We don't have to do the hard work of learning to trust again. Can I trust you? Should I trust you? Forget it. I'm not trusting anybody. So we plant deeper roots. And now that we're here, longer than we should be, again, we're not supposed to be, but we don't know that. Now the mind starts going to work and doing things like, well, maybe you're not all that great. Maybe it's true. Maybe you deserved it. Maybe this, maybe that. So we plant deeper roots. Now that we're here with these thoughts, this is what we're thinking. So this is the energy we're putting out. Like energy attracts like energy. So now all of a sudden, you're attracting people and circumstances and relationships towards you to confirm this is exactly where you belong. Like the misery loves company crowd, they come around right now. That lame support group that keeps you stuck, where you actually sabotage yourself so you don't outgrow them because then you lost your people, they come around now. It gets worse, but I'll get you out of here. Because it feels so bad, but as you said, I have to take care of the kids. I have to get through my day. I have to go to work. Right here in this spot is where we start using those coping mechanisms. Food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy, whatever it is, to numb, avoid, and distract. So think about it. You do that for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I can see someone 30 years later and say that emotional eating you're doing, that numbing in front of the TV, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they would look at me like I'm crazy. It happened 30 years ago. All they did was put themselves and lock themselves in stage 3. That makes sense?
It makes total sense. And what I'm also seeing then, of course, as the medical physician lens, is they're headed towards adrenal burnout. Like they're headed towards some serious health issues the longer that this continues on, that they're staying stuck in stage 3.
That's why they have all those symptoms of post betrayal syndrome. And that's why they stay. Those symptoms don't get better, and they're very action oriented. They're going to do all these, but it's like a big game of whack-a-mole. They're like, let's treat the adrenal symptoms. Let's go to a gut doctor. Let's go, try to lose the weight. Let's take something to help sleep better. But all of it, at the root of it, is that unhealed, in this case, that we're speaking of, this unhealed betrayal. Am I numbing, avoiding, and distracting? If so, how? Call yourself on it. Do you go into the kitchen, you're not the least bit hungry, and you're raiding the cabinets? Do you go into a room and you put the TV on just because you are desperately trying to drown out the sound of your own thoughts? Call yourself on it. Number 2, what am I trying not to see? Am I trying not to see my relationship is in trouble? Am I trying to see I hate my job? Am I trying to not see that health issue that needs my attention? What am I trying not to see? Call yourself on it. The third question, what's life gonna look like in 5 to 10 years if I do nothing? Play it all the way out. Take the relationship issue with the way you're handling it or not handling it. Take that 5 years into the future. What does it look like? Take that health issue that you are neglecting to do something about. Bring it 5 years into the future. What does it look like? Take that work issue. Bring it 5 years into the future. Doing or not doing exactly what you're doing. What does it look like? And the fourth question, what could life look like in 5 to 10 years if I change now? I'm not saying that change is easy, but transformation begins when you tell yourself the truth. So if you are willing Willingness is a huge word right here. If you are willing to let go of your story and all it gives you, grieve, mourn the loss, a bunch of things you need to do, you move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. Here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. In that decision alone, you're turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but at least you stop the massive damage you've been creating in stages 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 feels like if you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, you're like, all your stuff's not there. Doesn't feel quite right, but you're like, okay, all right, we got this. It feels like that. And one of the most interesting things about stage 4 is this. There is one spot moving from stage 3 to stage 4. And think about this. If you were to move, you don't bring everything with you. You don't bring the things that don't represent who you want to be. If your friends weren't there for you, you have outgrown them right here. You do not take them with you to stage 4. And the people say to me all the time, what the heck? I've had these friends 10, 20, 30 years. Is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. And if they don't rise, they don't come. Very common to change friendships in that one stage. When you've settled in to this new mental place, it feels good. You're making it your mentally home. You move into the 5th most beautiful stage, and this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. You didn't have the bandwidth for that earlier. Now you do. Your mind is healing. You're making new rules. You're making new boundaries based on the road you just traveled. And you have a new worldview based on everything you see, everything that you see so clearly now. Those are the 5 stages.